to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're with Amanda Hall, psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. It's a really sort of overcast, sort of threatening sky here today, and we're about to get deluged with rain, and I can certainly assure you we're not complaining. We'd just like to sort of push the rain a little bit further down south to where we've still got raging bushfires in this country. I know I seem to be like a broken record and talking about it every week, but we still do have them raging across the country. There doesn't seem to be sort of any end in sight. Hopefully soon we'll get rain in those affected areas and people can start getting their lives back to some sort of normality and start to pick up the pieces. So let's change the pace a little bit now. We're going to be looking at the Secrets of Tarot card for this week, and it's called the Justice card. Now, this is a really ambiguous card. When people get this in a reading, and particularly my students say, but how does this apply to me, Amanda? I don't have anything legal going on in my life at the moment. So let's run through the card first off. It is the card of justice. It is the card of legal situation or decision. It can also be the card of police, or more importantly, finding the balance in the matters affecting our lives. So it's finding the truth so that we can bring the balance into our lives. So more times than not, when you get the Justice card coming up in a reading, it's asking you to look at the situations, look at the information, look at everything very carefully in your life and try and find the balance in it. Try and find the truth. Try and find the real answers in this, like a judge would do. When you look at a courtroom, a judge's role is to find out the truth, is to get to the bottom of the matter and then bring about their decision. Well, that's literally what you need to do in your own life, is to be like a high court judge and try and find the truth out of everything that's affecting your life and then bring it into balance. Very rarely does it mean police, unless there's some reason that you've got, a need for the police in your life. And very rarely is it a legal situation, because most of us don't have legal situations happening on a daily basis or a weekly basis in our lives. So that's the Justice card. So, just sort of staying on the note of tarot a little bit, I get lots and lots of questions every week in my inbox about how I do a reading. Why would I do one? I can't sort of, I've bought your book, I've followed all the instructions, but how do I put a reading together? Now, one of the most important things that I can say to you about tarot reading, it's like anything else. Practice makes perfect. When you first start learning something in your life, it does seem foreign, it does seem complicated, it does seem like you're the only person in the world that can't manage it and everybody else makes it look easy. Well, the same is to be said for tarot. Yes, each card has a particular meaning, but yes, they do have a life of their own and they do have a personality. And I try and say to people, the that are on the bottom of my cards are there as a guideline. It gives you a starting point. From that, then you add your own layers or your own feelings or the own things that might be coming into your head, or when you look at the card and it's telling you something else, then you need to go with that, because that's your intuition, your psychic ability, your spirit guides, whatever you believe in, or your higher self giving you their interpretation or helping you understand what the reading is about. And no two readings are the same for every person. You can have very similar cards come out and the reading can take a completely different slant. And this is where, working with the tarot is something that it's like a lesson. You've got to keep continuing to work with it. And I try and teach my students that things that can come out in a Celtic cross spread, for argument's sake, where we're working with a minimum of 10 cards, the actual situations will work their way through from the end of the reading until it becomes the past. So we can have many different messages that come out in tarot readings, and they're not all about the immediate of what's going on in our lives today. They can be sometimes much longer projections and alerting us or making us aware to the potential of situations and opportunities that are coming our way. So that's just a little bit of a brief understanding about tarot. So we're going to work with the candles of the week this week, and I thought that, we'd sort of swap things around a little bit astrologically this week. It seems like forever now we've been talking about the doom and gloom and the hard lessons and everything like that are going on astrologically, and it's sort of like, yes, they're all still there. You know, Pluto's still doing his dance through Capricorn and Saturn's still there and everything's still sort of like, you know, lots of things that have got to be sorted through. But I thought this week we'd focus on something a little bit more light-hearted as we're heading towards Valentine's Day next week. And this week on the weekend, on the 9th of February or February 9, we are going to have the new moon in Leo. So this is a really positive new moon for the year because it's a time when I think we can sort of strut our stuff, we can sort of get our glad rags out of the closet or the wardrobe and say, look at me, I'm feeling lighthearted, I'm feeling frivolous, I'm feeling like let's go out and have some fun. And that's what I think we need to do. I think we've had a really heavy start to a brand new year. Let's try and lighten things up a little bit and start to look at sort of some fun elements in our life, spending time with family, with loved ones, going to see a stage play, seeing a concert in the park, or just going for a walk in the park and enjoying nature if weather permits in your area to do so. Let's go back and do something that makes our heart sing instead of us just sort of feeling like we're so bogged down with all the political stuff and all the weather events and everything else that's happening around the world. Let's try and have some positivity into our lives at the moment and just loosen things up a little bit and be a little bit free and a little bit frivolous and, you know, put some music on the turntable and just wiggle your hips and have a good time. So, as I said, new moon this week in Leo. So, of course, I'd be working with the new moon candle this week. And when I work with a candle, I like to work on a 7-day cycle. I work on 2 days on the approach. So, from February 7, I will be starting to write my list out of what I want to bring towards me with the new moon. Now, the new moon is new opportunities. It's things that we want to bring towards us in our life. I have a way of where I always look at if I'm going to attract 3 new things or intend to attract 3 new things in my life, I try and let go of 3 things at the same time too. Even if it's just old emotions and letting go of old energy, but I like to put the 3 new things down on my list of things that I want to attract towards me, and that could just be a more positive attitude that, you know, waking up every morning and feeling alive and feeling a little bit childlike and feeling a little bit more motivated to have some fun today. It doesn't always have to be of a serious nature, and it doesn't always have to be, oh, I'm trying to attract a new car or a new job or whatever. It can just be, I'd like some new energy in my life. I'd like some new positivity. So be mindful of that. So 2 days on the approach. So the 7th is the start of the new moon cycle. We have 3 days then of the new moon cycle, which is 9, 10, 11. And then I allow 2 days on the descending after the 3 days of the new moon. So that makes our 7-day cycle. So we'd be working with the fire sign candle as well because we're working with Leo as well. So I would write an identical list to read out and pop under both candles. Now, when I work with candles, I like to work with them for a minimum of 10 minutes a day. I never, ever leave a candle unattended because of fire risk. I don't put them under air conditioning fans, under windows, under curtains, all the obvious things. But sometimes I think we get a little bit complacent and we forget to think of safety first. And, we are working with a flame after all. Our extra large candles have dual wicks, so I tend to light one wick one day and light the other wick the next day. So minimum of 10 minutes, read your list out aloud, pop it underneath the candle, pop your candle on top of a coaster. Never put it directly on the furniture because the glass container gets very hot. The soy wax doesn't get hot, but the glass container can get hot. And I always put a barrier between that and the furniture, and it also reduces the risk of, if you have a drop in temperature, of the glass container cracking. So for those of you that mightn't have enough room for an extra large candle, can I suggest a gift box set? This week I've made the gift box set up with the new moon candle, the fire sign candle, but I've also put the travel candle in there for good measure because I thought we might like to do a little bit of travelling or send things out to the universe or sort of look at sort of just opening our horizons up this time. But we have 28 candles in our range, so you're more than welcome to choose combination that suits you. You can choose 3 of the same, or you can make your own selections from the 28, as I said, and make your box very personal and very, very individual. So for those of you that like to work with candles, it's a very positive time now to be working with or getting ready to work with the new moon in Leo. And let's put a bit of fun and frivolity back into our lives again. And I think that's really important at the moment, that we've all had, sort of such a heavy start to the new year. I think it's time now that we start looking for something positive, and to become a little bit childlike might be the way to be sort of gearing ourselves up ready for next week, when we're heading towards the biggest day of the year for lovers and being in relationships is Valentine's Day. And I can assure you my inbox becomes very full around that time of year, when people are sort of asking the best way to bring in a new lover or to increase the loving energy in their relationship. We might talk about that next week. So we're going to go and talk to Courtney now in Barnsley in England, in the UK. Are you there, Courtney?
Yeah.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Courtney?
You what, sorry?
So what's your question, sweetheart?
Nothing, I was just wondering if you've got any sort of, anybody that has any messages on to me, like any loved ones that passed away.
Right. Okay. It's always interesting, Courtney, when you ask questions for me to sort of try and tune into somebody that's crossed over. With such the short space of time that we have on this program, I don't like to guarantee that I'm going to be able to connect with who you want to connect with. But what I will give you is what I'm being given psychically. And at the moment, Courtney, you seem to be in a position where you're sort of questioning a lot of things. There's a lot of endings, change and transformation coming up around you. I sort of feel as if I feel a little bit flat at the moment, as if, the new year started with a bit of a bang, and then all of a sudden it was like somebody let all the air out of my balloon, and I feel very sort of flat, and not so much disappointed, but flat. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what's the next step. Can I suggest to you to just allow this to be? Don't be in too much of a hurry to try and kickstart your year just yet. I think you are allowed to sort of just be for the moment and just let everything sort of flow towards you. You had such a busy year last year and the year before. I think it's time now that you take a little bit of a breather and just let your life start to sort of level out again. Has there been what I call sort of psychic or spirit energy around you of a night when you're sleeping, Courtney? Have you been sort of waking up sort of feeling as if there's been someone there?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to argue with you that the fact that there hasn't been someone there. I think there's been more than one energy or presence, shall we say, but they haven't sort of stepped forward and identified themselves to me for me to say, Courtney, this is what I'm getting, and, you can piece together who it is. But I know there's been more than one. I'm picking up 3 or 4, and I feel that it's sort of like they're trying to let you know that they're there and that they're watching you and they're helping you. But I don't know that any one particular person wants to sort of put their hand up and say, well, I'm the boss, or I'm the one that's here the most. It's like a team effort. And I feel that they sort of feel that you need this at the moment. It's like, because you've got so many changes coming up over the next 12 months and you've been through so much in this last couple of years, a lot of their reason for coming during the night is to just tell you everything's going to be okay. It's like they're coming and it's like what we do to a child, as they're going to sleep. We could be stroking their forehead or patting their hair or, patting them on the back or something like that to reassure them that, it's time, you can relax, you can go to sleep, that mummy's here and, everything's okay. It's that sort of energy that they're sharing with me. So that's what I want to give to you. But as I said, I'm seeing up to 4 different people that have been coming, and it's sort of like they're taking it in turns to come and reassure you that everything's right. I would be inclined to lean towards 2 of these people being grandparents. They're just giving me that sort of energy of authority, as if they were grandparents, and particularly 2 grandparents that you were really, really super close to. that you sort of felt you were almost like their child. They seem to be sort of heading the parade up, if I can put it that way, of people coming in to sort of guide you at the moment and help you.
Yeah.
Did you have a health scare? Did you have a health issue that you had to deal with late last year?
Mental.
Did you have a health problem that you had to deal with, like backwards and forwards to a medical practitioner? Because they're showing me whatever it was that happened around August or September last year that you were concerned about or worried about is now subsiding. It's like they're showing me that that's now all clear, that everything's now starting to sort of settle right down again. So I'm taking it from that everything from the end of this month, the way that they're presenting it to me, Courtney, is everything is going to be a lot easier for you. So I think you just need to relax. Don't be alarmed by their little visits during the night. If you wake up and you feel someone's there, just sort of say hello and sort of roll over and go back to sleep, because they're not there to try and disturb you. They're there to just sort of comfort you and let you know everything's all right, and they're there with you and they're giving you energy and all that sort of stuff. So that's where we're going to leave Courtney now. I hope that's been of help to you, Courtney. We're going to go to Cheryl now in Parksville, British Columbia in Canada. Are you there, Cheryl?
Yes, I am.
You have a question I can work with, please, Cheryl?
Oh, general life, in life.
Okay, life in general. All right, we can look at that for you. It's really, really interesting, Cheryl, because they're showing me that they're beating a drum. So I don't know how to interpret that as if somebody's showing me that I'm beating a drum, to me that would be that I'm marching to the beat of the drum. You know what I mean? Like my life is going fairly systematically, that I'm marching to the beat of my own drum, and I think that's a good thing. So I can only take from that in the last 12 months or so that you've started to march to the beat of your own drum, have you? That you're really starting to do what you need to do for yourself. Is that what's been happening, Cheryl?
Yes.
Good. Well, I want you to continue on with that, because I feel by doing that you're going to start to bring your life more into a very strong, concise sort of direction of where it needs to be going. They're showing me in March there's going to be a major turning point. So are you thinking of moving house, or are you making some changes to where you're living? Because they're showing me question marks around that in the next month.
Yeah, that's been one of them too.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, because to me, again, they're showing me like your thinking is extremely clear. It's like there's nothing there that I need to alert you to or say that you're on the wrong track with. This is going to be a very definite, decisive year, and I know it's not necessarily going to suit everybody that's around you, but again, I want to say to you, you need to march to the beat of your own drum, no one else's. You're the one that's setting the pace. So changes around where you're living next month, I think that's going to be followed fairly closely by question marks around employment, about whether or not you're in the right job. I'm not necessarily seeing a job change as such, but what I am seeing is some learning of some extra skills or taking up a course or something like that that will enhance the abilities that you've got now. I think later in the year, I feel there could very well potentially be either a job change plus the opportunity to go into something that would be what I would consider a very small self-employed sort of like hobby situation that is going to increase the monetary situation around you. But I want to be very clear, they're two separate things. One is the job change or the promotion situation that happens around July or August. And then a couple of months after that, there's an opportunity here to make extra money. But this is something more that I would consider a hobby or something that gives you pleasure. And the bonus is I make some money out of it along the way. So it's a very positive year for you, Cheryl. But at the same time, it's going to be a year where you sort of streamline everything, where you're sort of condensing things down to what is important to you. And if that means, condensing your wardrobe down or condensing your closet down, but I think also condensing other areas of your life down too. And that might involve, letting go of friendships or not encouraging a friendship if you no longer feel that it's necessary or is conducive to you. It's sort of like that's okay too. It's a time to sort of really do what Cheryl needs to do. And the other thing that they were showing me was whatever changes that you've made to your diet or the food that you put in your mouth and your lifestyle, can continue on with it, because whatever you've done is going to start paying dividends very soon. You're going to start to feel that your body is more in tune with itself. You're getting more energy, more movement. You sort of feel as if you're thinking super clear, your skin's very clear, and you're starting to feel more energized than you've done in a long time. But I don't think it's just one particular area that's causing that. I think it's been a collective thing of not just what you're putting into your mouth, but what you're doing in your life and being true to yourself and marching to the beat of your own drum and all those sort of things that's contributing. So it's the whole package that's causing this, Cheryl. But I think it's very exciting as we move towards, 2020 unfolding for you, Cheryl, because there's just so many opportunities there coming towards you, because you are listening to yourself for a change and putting yourself first, and that's a good thing.
Okay. And financially?
So is that all I can help you with today, Cheryl?
Well, financially.
You what, sweetie?
I'm just worried about
financial stuff, but I feel that that's going to improve because there is opportunities there to make more money this year, and also too with your job, being given a more responsible job later in the year as a promotion. I feel that there'll be more money around that as well. So, finances and everything else will go hand in hand with the changes that are coming up for you, Cheryl. So that's where we're going to leave Cheryl. So, it's been a very interesting start to 2020. As I said, we've had lots of weather events around the world and a lot of political changes, and a lot of people sort of started off 2020 thinking, okay, we're going into a new decade, and everybody was feeling sort of excited and ready to sort of raring to go and let's go. And then all of a sudden, by the second week of 2020, it was like we all hit the wall and said, wow, this is not quite going the way that we expected. Yes, we can blame a lot of that on the planetary stuff. And as I've been talking about for many, many weeks now, that we've got some pretty serious, heavy going sort of planetary stuff and a lot of planets sitting in Earth at the moment, which is, is very grounding, but it can also make us feel sort of stodgy and held back and sort of restricted in some ways. So it's important that we have planets like Mars, the planet of action, is sitting in Sagittarius, where it's sort of starting to rev things up a little bit now, where we're starting to slowly see through some positive energy filtering through. And with this new moon this weekend coming up for all of us around the world, I think will signal the start of the energy starting to feel a little bit lighter, and it's all starting to feel a little bit more positive, and we've caught our breath and we're ready to go for the next round of events. And then as we head into next week and we head into Valentine's Day, which is always a magical time of the year. I'm an old softie at heart when it comes to romantic things like that. I think it's a time of the year where we all probably spend a little bit too much money on the person that we love or sort of think about matters of the heart. But I think we need that. I think we need that injection of positive energy to make us sort of, sidestep some of these emotional issues and these world issues and just sort of focus on loving energy, because after all, love is what makes the world go round, and there's been many, many songs sung about it and written about it over the years. But I think John Lennon probably was the one that springs to mind to me when he always sung about love. He talked about love, and love was the most important thing in the world, and it's the answer to everything. And I mean, yes, there's many other people that have sung about love and sing about love and write songs about love even in today's modern society. But I think there's people like him that were truly the people that you can put love in the same sentence with, that he didn't falter from that throughout his life. And, whether you liked his choices in wives or not is really not the issue. But, Yoko Ono certainly brought out the loving side of him, and he wrote a lot of his greatest love songs after he left the Beatles in his own career. And, love was always the thing, and freedom, that was always the thread throughout the work that he wrote. So I think all of us in the next week can sort of, start listening to our favourite radio station and listening out for the love songs that are going to be about. I know for me that, music is a very, very, very big part of my world, and I always have some sort of music on the turntable or on some sort of device. Even when I'm working, it's always going in the background, because I do find music is good for the soul, and I think it's very healing. I think it's very cleansing, and I think it's also very uplifting. And quite often you'll find that there's a certain sequence of events or songs that might come on a device or a radio station that you're listening to that actually have a psychic message for us. So if you get some of those sort of songs, start to write them down and go back and listen to them again and try and work out what the message is behind that. I have a certain series of songs that one of my late aunts, sort of when she wants to grab my attention, she has one of 3 songs that she puts on randomly, and I have to look at what's either side of that, because that's her message if I really feel her presence very strong. So why don't you start to try and take a little bit more notice of maybe that there might be some synchronicity in your life with music as well. So until next week, have a great week, be kind to each other, and don't forget to try and do something for someone else. A smile, opening a car door, being nice to somebody, popping next door and seeing if they're okay can brighten their world. Until next week, bye for now.